Most people look at a quarter acre and see a backyard. Smart farmers look at the same land and see $22,000 a year. No hundreds of acres needed, no commercial barns, no expensive equipment sitting idle between seasons. Just the right animals stacked the right way on land that most people already own and are currently underusing. Here is what the agricultural industry never wanted backyard farmers to figure out on their own. Profitable backyard livestock is real, it is legal, and it is happening right now on properties smaller than most people's yards. By the end of this breakdown, you will know exactly which animals to raise, how to combine them for weekly income, and why this stays hidden. Let's talk about what backyard farming actually costs most people who try it without a stacking system in place. Feed bills that never stop, animals eating for months before producing anything, and a dozen eggs a week that barely covers the cost. You show up every morning, you do the work, and at the end of the year, you are maybe $200 ahead if nothing died. That is not farming. That is an expensive hobby dressed up to look like self-sufficiency from the outside. The real frustration is not just the money, it is doing everything right and still watching the numbers go nowhere. You followed the advice, bought the chickens, built the coop, set up the waterers, and the system still does not pay. Here is exactly why that happens. Single animal setups on small land almost never generate real income. One species, one income stream, one slow return cycle. The math on that structure simply does not work at quarter-acre scale. But stack the right animals together with intention and design, and everything changes in a way most people never see coming. This is not new information. Small farmers figured out multi-species stacking centuries before commercial feed stores existed. Traditional homesteaders did not pick one animal and hope for the best. They ran integrated systems with every species earning its place. Rabbits fed the compost, ducks patrolled the garden rows, quail filled the production gaps where chickens could not legally operate. Each animal served a specific function. Each function generated income or eliminated a cost, and nothing sat idle or wasted. The result was small plots of land, producing consistent food and consistent income year after year through every season. Then industrial agriculture arrived with one primary goal: make every backyard farmer a paying customer for as long as possible. Sell feed, sell supplements, sell replacement birds every season. Sell the idea that small land cannot produce meaningful income. A genuinely self-sufficient backyard farmer is a terrible long-term customer, so the knowledge quietly left mainstream farming education. What replaced it was the single-species backyard model. Easier to sell products to, easier to keep dependent on outside supply chains. But the old stacking system never stopped working. It just stopped being taught to the people who needed it most. Farmers across Australia, Southeast Asia, and parts of Europe never abandoned multi-species stacking and still run it effectively today. A growing number of backyard producers in the US and UK are rediscovering exactly what their great-grandparents already knew worked. A quarter acre is enough. It has always been enough. The missing piece has always been the right animals in the right combination. Animal number one is quail, the fastest cash flow animal available to any backyard producer working with limited space. If income is needed quickly, nothing in backyard livestock comes close to what quail can deliver in terms of speed to first revenue. These birds begin laying eggs at just 6 weeks of age. Compare that to chickens requiring 5 to 6 months before a single egg appears. That timeline difference represents the gap between generating revenue within weeks versus waiting half a year for the first return. Here is the density math that makes quail remarkable at small scale. 50 birds fit comfortably in the footprint of a standard dog crate. 50 birds in that space produce up to 45 eggs per day at peak laying, a volume that creates real sellable product from almost no footprint. Quail eggs sell for $5 to $8 per dozen at standard farmers markets and $10 to $12 at Asian grocery stores and specialty food retailers. That is premium pricing for a product most buyers genuinely cannot find locally. Scarcity and quality both working in the producer's favor. 50 birds generating 45 eggs daily produces roughly 3 dozen per day available for sale or preservation. At $6 per dozen, that is $8 per day, $540 per month in gross revenue from one setup smaller than most household bathrooms. Add a second rack to double the flock to 100 birds, and the revenue doubles without requiring any additional land or infrastructure. Feed costs run about $2 per bird per month. 50 birds cost $100 monthly to feed against $540 in monthly revenue. Net profit on that single 50-bird setup lands at $440 every month from a footprint that most people waste on storage they never use. When laying production slows after 12 months, dressed quail meat sells for $5 to $8 per bird at markets and through restaurant accounts. That meat cycle is a second income stream built directly into the same animal. The flock keeps generating value through its entire life. Start with quail, get the cash flowing from week 1, and build every other income layer on top of that established foundation. The waiting list of egg customers, built from a quail operation, becomes the customer base that supports every product added after. Animal number 2 is rabbits, the most underrated income animal in backyard farming by a significant margin. One breeding doe produces up to 200 pounds of meat per year from a single animal in a cage smaller than a standard coffee table. A breeding trio, 1 buck and 2 does, costs under $300 to set up, including the animals, basic hutch, feeders, and waterers. Feed runs $45 to $70 per month for the complete breeding trio, a remarkably low input cost for the output this system delivers. 2 does, working on a consistent breeding schedule, produce 15 to 20 market-ready fryers every single month like clockwork. Dressed rabbit meat sells direct to consumer at $8 to $12 per pound, a premium price point that reflects the product's quality. Each fryer yields 3 to 5 pounds of finished meat, 20 fryers per month at $10 per pound average, and 4 pounds each is $800 monthly. After feed cost, the monthly net from one breeding trio lands at $600 to $700 from a setup that fits entirely inside a standard garage. That gross revenue figure from 3 animals in a garage footprint is a number most people struggle to believe until they run it themselves. But the financial story of rabbits does not end with the meat. The manure is the detail most people overlook completely. Rabbit manure requires no composting before application. It goes directly onto garden beds without burning plant roots. Serious market gardeners and organic growers actively seek rabbit manure and pay $1 to $3 per pound for a consistent supply. Some backyard rabbit keepers clear $100 to $150 additional dollars per month from manure alone on top of the meat revenue. That manure income effectively covers a significant portion of the monthly feed bill, reducing the net cost of the entire operation.
Quiet, nearly odorless when managed properly, legal in almost every suburban zoning designation, rabbits generate income without generating attention. They do not make headlines, and they do not attract complaints. They simply produce consistent weekly income in the background. Animal number 3 is ducks, and most people default to chickens for egg production without ever running the actual comparison numbers. That default toward chickens is precisely why duck eggs remain a premium product, with significantly better per dozen pricing. Duck eggs sell for $8 to $12 per dozen at most farmers markets and up to $15 per dozen in urban areas with specialty food culture. Bakers specifically seek duck eggs for the richer flavor and higher protein content that produces noticeably better baked results. Professional chefs, health-conscious households, and specialty food buyers will pay the premium and return week after week for reliable supply. Khaki Campbell ducks lay 280 to 320 eggs per year, matching or beating the production numbers of the best commercial laying hen breeds. Unlike chickens that slow dramatically in cold, wet, or miserable weather, ducks maintain laying through conditions that shut a standard flock down. That year-round production consistency is the operational advantage that most people do not factor into the breed comparison calculation. 10 ducks producing 300 eggs per year generates 250 dozen annually available for sale through direct channels. At $9 per dozen average, 10 ducks produce $2,250 per year in egg revenue alone from a small manageable flock. Feed costs for 10 ducks run $25 to $35 per month for the entire flock, a low input cost against that annual revenue figure. But the hidden contribution of ducks extends well beyond their direct egg income into pest management across the property. Ducks hunt slugs, snails, beetles, and soil grubs with a systematic efficiency that no chemical pest control product can match. Running ducks near a garden or orchard drops pest pressure dramatically without a single dollar spent on sprays or traps. Unlike chickens that scratch aggressively and uproot seedlings, ducks move carefully between plant rows without disturbing root systems. They eat the pests, deposit fertility as they move through, and leave the plants standing and undamaged behind them. The pest control value alone can represent hundreds of dollars annually in chemical inputs that never need purchasing. Quiet enough that most neighbors remain unaware of their presence, ducks generate income and solve problems without generating complaints. Animal number 4 is honeybees, the only animal on this list that actively makes every other part of the property more productive. One beehive occupies just 4 square feet of ground and can generate $300 to $600 per year in honey revenue with minimal daily labor. Local raw honey sells for $10 to $15 per pound at farmers markets. A strong hive produces 30 to 60 pounds per active season. Even at the conservative low end, that is $300 from a single hive, requiring roughly 30 minutes of attention per week during the active months. But honey is only the first of several income streams a well-managed hive produces for the backyard operation. Beeswax sells raw at $10 to $15 per pound, processed into candles, lip balm, or wood polish. That same wax retails for $30 to $50. One hive produces several pounds of harvestable wax per year, providing consistent raw material for value-added product lines. Pollination rental is a third income stream. Local market gardeners and small-scale farmers pay $100 to $200 per hive per season. 3 managed hives means 3 potential rental contracts running simultaneously alongside honey and wax production. Here is the multiplier effect that most people never calculate when evaluating whether bees belong in their system. Bees increase the productive yield of every flowering plant on the quarter acre. Vegetables, fruit trees, herbs, and cover crops all benefit. Research consistently shows properly pollinated crops produce 30 to 50% more food than identical crops without adequate pollinator access. Same garden beds, same seeds, same water and soil, 30 to 50% more food, simply from having active bees working the property. No other animal on this list delivers that kind of multiplier effect on the output of every other system already running. 2 hives managed competently can generate $150 to $300 per month, while simultaneously boosting productivity across the entire property. That combination of direct income plus yield multiplication makes bees the highest leverage addition available per square foot of space used. Animal number 5 is heritage breed pigs, the seasonal high-ticket income source that changes the annual revenue total significantly. One finished heritage pig yields 160 to 190 pounds of hanging weight, ready for direct-to-consumer sale. Direct-to-consumer heritage pork sells for $7 to $9 per pound in standard markets and $9 to $11 in urban markets for premium breeds. Breeds like Berkshire and Mangalitsa command the highest prices because the meat quality is visibly and tastably different from commercial pork. 2 finished pigs per cycle generates $1,900 to $3,300 in gross revenue from a seasonal system with no daily milking or egg collection. Run 1 to 1.5 cycles per year on a quarter acre, and pigs add $2,000 to $3,000 to the annual income total from seasonal work. The discipline required on limited land is keeping the commitment manageable. 2 pigs per cycle is the proven sweet spot. 2 animals generate serious revenue without overloading the pasture carrying capacity or pushing the feed budget into difficult territory. Heritage pigs on a proper rotation system actually improve the land they cycle through rather than degrading it. Their rooting behavior aerates compacted soil layers, their manure builds organic matter, and the pasture that follows improves measurably. Move pigs through a small paddock rotation, and the ground they leave behind grows better in the following season than it did before they arrived. Feed costs run $300 to $350 per finished pig. Pasture access reduces that by 25 to 40% on properties with reasonable ground cover. Net profit per pig direct to consumer after all inputs lands at $600 to $900 depending on breed, finishing weight, and local market pricing. 2 pigs twice per year adds $2,400 to $3,600 to the annual total from one seasonal system requiring no daily attention between batches. Combined with quail, rabbits, ducks, and bees already running, the quarter acre now generates income every single week of the calendar year. Animal number 6 is black soldier fly larvae, the system element that silently reduces costs across every other animal in the operation. This one surprises almost everyone the first time the numbers get laid out clearly. It surprised me too when I first ran them. Black soldier fly larvae eat organic waste, kitchen scraps, garden trimmings, spent animal bedding, food past its use-by date.
Material that is currently being thrown away or composted gets converted into 2 highly valuable products instead of disappearing as waste. Product 1 is high-protein live larvae. Dried larvae sell for $4 to $8 per pound to poultry farmers, fish hatcheries, and reptile breeders. Product 2 is frass, the organic material larvae leave behind, which sells for $2 to $5 per pound to organic gardeners and market growers. A small operation running in 100 square feet of covered space can process 200 pounds of larvae per week at full production scale. Even selling at the low end of the pricing range that represents significant monthly revenue from inputs that cost nothing to source. A Florida producer documented $1,500 to $2,000 per month running a small larvae operation sourcing scraps from local restaurants. The setup cost him under $200 total, one of the highest return on investment ratios of any livestock system documented at small scale. But for the quarter acre stacking system, the immediate value is not necessarily selling the larvae at all. Feed the larvae directly to the quail, ducks, and rabbits already running, and the purchased feed bill drops 20 to 40% across the board. That feed cost reduction flows directly into net profit without requiring any additional sales effort or customer relationship building. The larvae operation is a closed loop. Waste goes in, free high-quality feed, and optional sellable product come out on the other side. This is the element that quietly makes every other animal in the system cheaper to run, while adding its own income potential. In a properly designed stacked quarter acre system, larvae are the engine running in the background that nobody outside the gate ever sees. 2 years ago, the situation looked like exactly what most people watching this are dealing with right now. 12 chickens, $70 per month in feed, a steady supply of eggs that neighbors paid for whenever it suited them. Telling myself that building something meaningful was happening. And then actually sitting down and running the annual numbers. Total feed spend for the year, $840. Total egg revenue collected, $620. A net loss of $220 before counting a single other cost. The cope build, the bedding, the 2 birds lost to a fox in October. None of that made it into the feel-good narrative. The honest reality was not farming. It was subsidizing other people's breakfast at personal expense month after month. The shift happened when individual animals stopped being the frame of reference and systems became the way of thinking instead. A small quail setup came first. 50 birds in a stacked cage rack, built for $60 in reclaimed and purchased materials. Within 8 weeks of placement they were laying, and within 12 weeks, 3 customers were on a waiting list at $7 per dozen. More income from 50 quail in a shed corner than from 12 chickens in a purpose-built coop that took 2 weekends to construct. A breeding trio of rabbits came next, then 10 khaki Campbell ducks, then 2 beehives along the back fence line. Each addition took less than a weekend to set up, and each one opened a new income stream that did not depend on the others. 12 months after that first quail rack went together, the quarterly review told a completely different story than the one a year before. Feed costs across all animals were partially offset by the larvae system processing kitchen scraps from the household. The ducks had reduced pest control work in the vegetable beds to almost nothing, a task that previously consumed real time weekly. Total livestock income for that year cleared $19,000 on a property the neighbor across the fence still thinks is just a backyard. The animals themselves did not change. The strategy around them changed, and that strategy was the entire variable. The lesson that took too long to learn, it was never about finding better individual animals, it was about building a better system. Before purchasing a single animal from this list, here are the mistakes that kill these systems before they generate a single dollar. Mistake 1 is starting with too many species at the same time, out of enthusiasm after watching something like this video. Ordering quail, ducks, rabbits, and bees in the same week sounds exciting until 6 months later when nothing is optimized. Managing 6 learning curves simultaneously means every system gets fractured attention, and none of them reach their income potential. Pick one animal, run it for 90 days. Get the cash flowing consistently, then add the next one with that foundation already established. Every system on this list works. None of them work when attention and energy are split 6 ways before mastering any single one. Mistake 2 is underestimating ongoing feed costs before having confirmed buyers in place and ready to purchase. Animals eat every day, whether they are producing at full capacity, whether the market is ready, or whether a single customer exists yet. Before buying one animal, identify 3 potential customers. Post in a local group, visit a market, have 3 real conversations. Confirm that demand exists in the specific area before spending a single dollar on setup, housing, or the animals themselves. Scale production to match confirmed demand, not to match the maximum possible output the system could theoretically generate. Mistake 3 is choosing the wrong breeds based on appearance or availability, rather than documented production performance. A Rouen duck looks beautiful and lays approximately 100 eggs per year. A Cocky Campbell lays 300 from identical feed inputs. That breed difference represents roughly $800 in lost annual revenue from the same 10 birds eating the same monthly feed cost. Breed selection is not a secondary detail to optimize later. It is the difference between a system that pays and one that drains. Research the production numbers for every breed before purchasing and choose based on documented output, not on appearance. Mistake 4 is skipping predator protection to cut startup costs, and then losing months of production income in a single night. One fox event, one raccoon, one neighborhood dog that finds a gap in the fence. A single predator incident erases months of progress. Hardware cloth on all enclosures, covered runs on all outdoor areas, and secure latches on every access point are not optional. Budget for predator protection before budgeting for feed, before budgeting for the animals, before anything else gets purchased. The most expensive moment in any backyard livestock operation is the night after skipping the predator protection budget. Here is what this stacked system looks like, running at full capacity 12 months from the day the first animal gets added. The quail operation covers its own feed costs and generates consistent weekly income that deposits into the account every market day. The rabbit colony produces monthly meat revenue with the reliability of a subscription service that never misses a payment cycle. The ducks lay premium eggs through winter weather that shuts every nearby chicken flock down and eliminates pest pressure from the garden. The bees boost every plant on the property by 30 to 50% in yield, while producing honey that sells out before the season ends. The larvae system quietly cuts the feed bill across every other animal running and optionally generates its own direct revenue stream. 5 income streams running simultaneously on 1/4 acre. No single bad week or sick animal can collapse the whole structure. Each animal's waste product or byproduct feeds into another animal's cost reduction, or another part of the property's productivity. Rabbit manure builds garden fertility, garden surplus feeds rabbits and quail, larvae reduce feed costs, bees boost garden yields. The system compounds on itself every season, as soil improves, as customer relationships deepen, as breed selection optimizes. Year 1 builds the infrastructure and the customer base. Year 2, the operation runs more efficiently with the same labor input. Year 3, the costs are lower, the prices are higher from proven quality, and the customer list is long enough to support expansion. A 1/4 acre running this stacked system conservatively generates $15,000 to $22,000 per year in documented net profit. Not from one large annual payout, but from consistent weekly income streams that compound and support each other through every season. The land does not get bigger. the system gets smarter, and every year the farmer running it gets better at maximizing what already exists. Stop looking at the available land and seeing a limitation. Start looking at the same space and seeing a system waiting to be built. Pick one animal from this list, just one, that matches the available space, the local zoning rules, and the confirmed market demand. Spend the first week finding 3 potential buyers before spending any money on setup, housing, or the animals themselves. Confirm that real demand exists in the local area, and then build production capacity to match that confirmed demand precisely. That is how $22,000 a year on a quarter acre actually starts. Not with a large investment, but with one smart decision followed by another. The capital required to begin this system is lower than most people assume. Quail racks for $60, rabbit hutches under $200. The land required is already there for most people watching this. A backyard, a side yard, a garage corner, a covered shed space. The market for premium local animal products is growing in almost every geography as more buyers seek direct farm relationships. You stopped being a customer the moment the first animal started producing. That is the mental shift that changes everything. Not just financially in terms of the income replacing the grocery spend, mentally in terms of what feels possible on the available land. Grocery price increases stop causing anxiety when the household produces a meaningful portion of its own food supply. Supply chain disruptions appear on the news rather than appearing as empty shelves in the household pantry. Dependence on systems that cannot be controlled starts shrinking the moment a productive stacked system starts running. Drop a comment naming which animal you are starting with first and what the biggest obstacle looks like from where you are standing. Every comment gets a direct and personal response. Specific advice for specific situations beats general guidance every time. If this opened the way of thinking about available land, hit subscribe and the bell for weekly practical systems built for real backyards. Real budgets, real animals, real numbers, not fantasy farms on 200 acres that most people watching will never own. Your land is already enough. It has always been enough. It just needed the right system designed around what it already is.